Ever wonder how an AI can just write a story or translate a language in real time? How does it get the context of what we're saying? Well, it all comes down to one thing: memory. Today, we're going to trace the incredible story of how AI learned to remember, starting from its very first kind of fragile attempts, all the way to the absolute powerhouse models that are changing our world. So, here's our roadmap. First, we'll tackle the basic challenge of understanding things in order. Then we'll meet the first real hero of this story, the recurrent neural network, and, of course, discover its critical flaw. From there, we'll see how a revolutionary idea called attention completely changed the game, giving birth to the transformer, which is, the engine behind almost all the advanced AI you see today. All right, let's just dive right in. Before we can get to the cool stuff, you've got to understand why language is so incredibly tricky for a machine to begin with. It's all about context. Take a look at this sentence. The chicken didn't cross the road because it was too tired. For you and me, this is a no-brainer. What's it? The chicken, obviously. Easy. But for a machine, that little word it is a huge puzzle. How does it know it isn't the road? The only way to know is by understanding the context from the rest of the sentence, specifically the word tired. This right here is the fundamental problem of sequential data. The meaning is hidden in the relationships between words, even ones that are far apart. So the first big breakthrough in solving this problem came from an architecture that was specifically designed to mimic a kind of memory. And that brings us to the recurrent neural network. Okay, so this is a recurrent neural network, or just RNN for short. The absolute key idea here is the loop. See, most networks just push information forward, but an RNN is special. It's designed so that after it processes something, it feeds the result back into itself for the next step. This cycle, this loop, is what lets information stick around. And the magic of that loop happens through something called a hidden state. Now, the easiest way to think about this is that the hidden state is the network's short-term memory. It's basically a bunch of numbers that get updated with every single word the network reads, and its job is to keep a running summary of everything it's seen so far. So picture an RNN reading a sentence. It doesn't just see one word at a time in isolation. It reads the first word or token and creates a little summary in its hidden state. Then it moves to the second word, but it takes that old summary with it, combines it with the new word, and creates an updated summary. It does this over and over so the context from the very beginning of the sentence can, in theory, influence its understanding of the words at the very end. Now, this step-by-step approach was really clever, but it had a huge weakness. Just like our own short-term memory, an RNN's memory wasn't perfect, and it really started to fail when things got long. RNNs were great at remembering stuff from a few words back, no problem. But what if a really important piece of information was at the very beginning of a long document? By the time the RNN got to the end, that initial context would get all watered down by everything it had read since. It just couldn't hold on. The technical term for this is the vanishing gradient problem. But all that really means is that the influence from earlier words gets weaker and weaker and weaker as you go. The further back in the sentence you go, the harder it is for the network to learn that connection. In short, its memory just fades away. So, to fix this whole fading memory issue, researchers had a kind of light bulb moment. It was this brilliantly simple idea. What if, instead of forcing the network to cram everything into one summary, you just gave it the ability to focus? And this slide is a perfect way to picture it. Forget the fragile, step-by-step memory. What if the model could just look back across the entire sentence at any time and cherry-pick the exact words that are most relevant for what it's trying to do right now? And that is the core concept of self-attention. For every single word it's looking at, the model calculates a score for every other word in the input. It's basically asking, how important are you to understanding me? This creates this rich web of connections, letting it pull context directly from the source no matter how far away it is. And just like that, the long-distance memory problem solved. This new mechanism was so unbelievably powerful that it became the title of this now legendary 2017 paper from Google. And here's the kicker. This paper didn't just propose improving RNNs, it proposed getting rid of them altogether. This radical attention-only idea was the blueprint for a completely new architecture, one that didn't just fix AI's memory, but fundamentally changed the speed at which AI could learn. This was the birth of the transformer. And you can just see the explosion on this timeline. I mean, before 2017, progress was steady. We had better RNNs like LSTMs. But after that transformer paper dropped, boom, things took off. We quickly got game-changing models like BERT and the first GPTs, which paved the way directly for the massive language models we have now. So if there's one thing to take away, it's this fundamental shift right here. An RNN has to read sequentially, one word at a time. But a transformer, because it can calculate attention for all words at the same time, it sees the entire sentence at once. It processes in parallel. And the implications of that shift are just staggering. Processing in parallel means you can train on way more data way faster. The long-distance memory problem is completely gone. And most importantly, it means you can scale these models up to billions and billions of parameters. It's the architecture behind pretty much every major AI model today. GPT, Gemini, Llama, you name it. So this whole journey from the one word at a time memory of an RNN to the see it all at once context of a transformer, it wasn't just an upgrade. It was a totally new way of thinking. It showed that by finding a better way to handle context, we unlocked a whole new level of intelligence. It really makes you wonder, right? What's the next fundamental barrier we're about to break through?